Hello everybody. I was gone for about 25 years. Let's just pretend like that didn't happen. Let's talk about abortion. I have a very specific take on abortion that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else talk about this before. So let's talk about it for no reason. Now, I'm not a woman. I hope that's been clear to you guys. So I obviously will never get an abortion. But kind of an interesting thing is I was almost an abortee. Like, I almost got aborted. Before I was born, my parents went to the doctors. And they did like a weird scan or whatever. And then they found out that I might have an extra chromosome. And this is early 2000s in South Korea we're talking about. So this is when people are getting abortions to not miss a Star Wars movie. And since apparently this doctor was pretty fucking sure that I was gonna have a Down syndrome, it was pretty much expected of my mother to get an abortion. And the only reason that she didn't get an abortion was because she was Christian, which is kind of ironic. I'm not saying that that gives me any like more of a right to have an opinion on this. I don't think it does. I think whether you're right or wrong depends on what you're saying and not who you are. But that's just like some context for what I'm about to say. So basically, I'm just kind of conflicted about this whole idea of abortion, and I'm gonna try to explain my thought process in a way that hopefully makes sense. So first of all, I definitely think that it's killing. I feel like a lot of people just don't say that because it sounds terrible when you say it out loud, but it's not gonna go away just because you're not saying it out loud. It's still there. You know, you are killing a baby. I am quite famously not Christian. I don't think there's such a thing as soul or anything like that. I think we're just made out of molecules, like science tells us we are. But why is killing wrong? Which obviously I'm not saying that killing shouldn't be wrong or that it's not wrong, but just think about that for a second. Why is killing of a person, why is that wrong? Where does that come from, right? And to kind of answer that question, you gotta think about when is it not wrong, right? Like where's the line? And it seems to me that the only justified killing is euthanasia, right? It's like if there's a dude who's like 70 years old, he's got like 3 years to live, and he's in extreme pain because of a debilitating disease that he has. So then the options are to A, kill him and just end his suffering, or B, to let him suffer all 3 years. Once that becomes the picture, the answer seems pretty clear. So in that situation, you should kill this guy. Killing this guy is the right thing to do. And that's what really kind of gives you the clue of like why we think killing is wrong. It's because of suffering. Killing causes suffering in most cases. When it doesn't, when it actually prevents more suffering than it causes, like in the case of euthanasia, it becomes the morally right thing to do. And I think that's also why it's more wrong to kill a child than it is to kill somebody that's like 85 years old. Because if it's a child, then there's so much pleasure in it and all these wonderful things in life that they can't experience that were prevented by this kid dying. But if you're 85, there's not so much pleasure and joy that you're missing out on if you die right now, generally speaking. So killing is basically wrong because you're preventing the potential life of this person. But it's not that simple either. And the reason for that is because of butterfly effect. Now, I love talking about butterfly effect. Seriously, if you don't have anything to do, just pick a day to just think about butterfly effect. And I swear to God, you're gonna think of some crazy stuff. Because think about this, right? Let's say you got on a bus that was full. So there are people waiting behind you. One of the people behind you was a dude who was on his way to go on a date. But because you got on the bus and didn't let him on the bus, he was late. And the girl left, and they never saw each other ever again. But let's say that if you didn't get on the bus, he would have gone on the bus, and he would have made it to the date, and they would have actually liked each other, and, you know, things would have gone well, and they would have actually gotten married and had kids. So then, basically, by getting on that bus, you have just eliminated the potential lives the girl would have given birth to. What's crazy is that there's a good chance that that baby, that potential baby, would have gotten married and had kids too. And on and on and on and on and on. So by getting on this bus, you have basically put an end to an infinite amount of potential human beings indirectly because of butterfly effect. That's happening like everywhere, and not even just that. Just think about this. If you are marrying somebody, then that means that person isn't going to marry who they were going to marry if you didn't marry that person. That's a completely different set of children that would have been born if you didn't marry that person. And not only that, if you had sex about a second later than when you did, you would have a completely different child, right? Because the gene pool of the child that is going to be born depends on which specific sperm makes it to the egg. That's why not all of your siblings are the same fucking person. Which means that just by not having sex at this exact moment, you have basically eliminated one potential human being. So all our lives, whatever we're doing, we are likely ending infinite amounts of potential human beings, probably daily. So is abortion such a different thing? Yeah, so anyways, I just kind of thought of that out of nowhere and just wanted to make a video out of it. I think I've been kind of scared of making videos that are kind of not really to the topic of the channel, and I kind of felt this pressure to keep the channel one thing. But I think I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want to moving forward. Not like anyone cares anymore, so I think I'll just like figure out as I go. All right, bye.